Okay. So that finished us with that chapter. So we're going to go into chapter 22. All right, so much art history, never enough time to cover it all. So let's go run through the art museum. We are working on chapter 22 today. All right, got Mannerism and Renaissance and Mannerism in Cinquecento, Italy. What does Cinquecento mean? 1500s. That is a good guess, and that is correct. As a reminder, I want you to write in the header of your next empty page the title of this chapter. That makes it easy for me when I go and grade your notes. I know which chapter you are on in the notes. Also, a reminder, write this page number down in your table of contents at the beginning of your sketchbook. And also a reminder, 5 hand-drawn sketches per chapter. Are we good with the slide? All right, let's move on to Leonardo da Vinci. You probably heard his name before. One of those super famous artists. All right, so what is this artwork? What's the name of this artwork? Yeah, everybody knows this one. The most famous artwork in the entire world. This was painted in, it was painted in Florence. But to go visit it, do you know where you got to go? That's right, you got to go to Paris, right? It is in Paris, and it's in the Louvre. The Louvre. Yes. I think it's funny to mispronounce things. All right, so if you go into the Louvre, there's big long lines to get in to see the Mona Lisa. And when you actually go into the room, there's always a big crowd in front of the Mona Lisa with their cell phones out taking pictures. In fact, this will give you an idea. Wait, I'm going to, before I play this, I'm going to fix something here real quick. Yesterday, when I played this, there was an issue, and it helps to make it smaller. There we go. All right. Just a few seconds of walking around the room where the Mona Lisa is. This is a 360-degree view. And so if you look up, it's well lit from a skylight. There's the Mona Lisa on the far wall. And then if you look on the wall opposite of, come on, help me out. There's this giant painting opposite the Mona Lisa. And come on, help me out. So this gives you a sense of the environment that the Mona Lisa is in, a little bit of context. All right. And so when you do go and look at it, it's behind bulletproof glass. It's in its own little tiny little like closet-sized room with temperature control and humidity control, so that the it doesn't decompose any more than it has to. All right, so this is the Mona Lisa. Why is this the most famous painting? Is this the best painting that ever was? Is it the largest painting? Is it impressive? What makes this painting so famous? People talk about its smile, but surely other paintings have a similar smile. There's other artworks where the eyes follow you. And, that's just the model looking at the artist and the artist, painting it that way. There's nothing special about that. Later on, in a few slides, I will explain why she's the most famous. But there are sketches by Leonardo da Vinci that shows that the original plan had for her to be sitting within some architecture with a couple of pillars behind her. But who is the Mona Lisa? Like, who is she? There's been lots of controversy over the years. And so there was lots of rumors and conspiracy theories as to who the Mona Lisa was. A lot of people said that she was a mistress of Leonardo da Vinci, that she may have been a mistress of one of the Da Vinci's. No, not the Da Vinci's, the Medici's, or that she was one of the family members of the Medici. There was a lot of rumors saying that Leonardo da Vinci painted himself as a woman. All right, that's been the most common of the wild conspiracies that that came out of this. And one of the reasons why is that nobody really knew exactly who she was until 2005. So from 1503 to 2005, or I guess maybe the people alive at the time that it was painted would have known. But I guess what 1550 to about 2005, nobody really knew who she was. So she has been identified as Lisa Gherardini. That's what her name before she got married, and then she got married, and her name was changed to Lisa Giocondo. So she was the wife of a silk merchant. How exciting is that? The painting was commissioned for their new home and the birth of their second son, Andrea. Very exciting. Oh, yeah, you might be interested in this. The word Mona is a shortened version of Madonna. So Madonna it means my lady. So it's two words, Madonna, and it's been shortened to one word, Madonna, which means my lady. And then Madonna was shortened to Mona. So this is my lady, Lisa. And Leonardo never delivered it to the man who commissioned the painting. So there's a little bit of a mystery there. Like, why, if you commissioned it, why did you never get it? All right. And then I want to talk about sfumato. And sfumato is the smoky haze that is in a work of art, and it helps to unify all the tones and colors of a painting. So if you compare the nose and mouth of Venus, The Birth of Venus, and Mona Lisa, the Mona Lisa's face is more unified. It's all the same color, whereas Botticelli's Venus has different colors in it, and it's very specific with the different colors. And if you look at the Mona Lisa, it almost looks like there's a film over it. Like there's this clear transparency over it that's a bit colored, or it's been sitting in a room that where people smoke, and everything is in the room is discolored. But that's the sfumato that we're that I'm talking about, it looks like you're looking through haze, and that helps to unify it all together. Um, Again, the ambiguous smile doesn't really tell us what she's thinking. A lot of people have talked about the smile. I've never, you know, I'm going to show my bias here. I'm not a big fan of the Mona Lisa. I don't think it's that great, and I find it odd that it's the most famous painting in the whole world. This just a basic portrait of somebody. Um, and so a lot of people talk about the smile, and there's been a lot of written about her. I'm currently reading a biography of Leonardo da Vinci, so I'm hoping that uh, by reading that, I will gain a better appreciation of the Mona Lisa. I do want to say that portraits of common people, and when I say common people, I mean people that are not royalty. And so this is a new thing in the world of art, whereas before it would be only the royalty that gets uh, uh, portraits painted of them. And also, what is new is this three-quarter view of the Mona Lisa. Before, it is either a frontal view that we've seen before, like in the Byzantine chapels, we know everybody's in frontal view, or we get a complete profile view. And so now we're beginning to see a bit of a three-quarter view where her head is slightly turned, the body is slightly turned. It's a little bit more visually interesting. And then if we look behind her, I think this is kind of cool. That one thing I like about Leonardo da Vinci is that his paintings look like they are from another world. It looks like she's sitting on, or that she is um, sitting for a portrait in another planet. It looks very sci-fi back there. You can see a little road that goes between the mountain pass, and then on the other side, you can see a bridge. It's kind of interesting. And just for fun, there was a movie called Hudson Hawk that came out in the 90s. And one of the scenes in the movie shows Leonardo da Vinci's studio. And as the camera pans through the studio, it shows him working on the Mona Lisa painting. And he has the whole thing finished except for the part of the mouth. And so this explains why there's such an odd smile. All right, so the reason why she has an odd smile is because she has odd teeth. And then we've got, just for fun, we've got this one right here. All right, so that was a bit of fun. All right, so the reason why the Mona Lisa is so famous is because in 1911 it was stolen. And when I talk about the art crimes at the end of this semester, I'll go into this story a little bit in more detail. But basically, an Italian guard working at the museum mistakenly thought that the painting had been stolen from Italy, and it was on display here in uh, uh, Paris, France. And so he took this painting. Because it would fit under his jacket. There were much bigger paintings in the um, room at the time, so that was one of the reasons why he chose this painting. And the painting was missing for a couple of years, and the museum put out flyers all over the uh, the city, right? So on lampposts and buses and bus stops, there were posters saying, "Have you seen this painting?" And what that did was that caused almost all of Paris to be aware of the Mona Lisa. And so it was almost like a PR campaign that, and then when the painting was eventually recovered 2 years later, they did another PR campaign, and the painting went on tour to different museums, and they had a parade for the museum, and then people would come to see the painting, and so that's how it became famous. All right, that just this PR campaign because it was stolen. And at a time where there's no television, uh, this was the first time that people had thought about going to the museum or seeing artwork outside of the museum, um, uh, all over town. So, anyways, it is a often parodied painting that you find on the internet. People make memes of it. All right, quite funny. All right, now I want to talk about Lady with an Ermine. What's an ermine? Yeah, it's that thing, right? So Leonardo traveled to Milan. Milan is the enemy of Florence. So he was in enemy territory, and he gets commissioned to paint the portrait of this 16-year-old girl. And she is from a middle class family. Her dad had a government job, and she's very well educated, very beautiful, and a good singer. But the person who commissioned this portrait is the Duke of Milan. He was in his 30s, and she is his mistress. Right, so that's the Duke of Milan and his mistress, and she was his favorite mistress. So he commissioned this portrait, and so to show you how much he loved this girl, he described her as being as beautiful as a flower. And then his fiancee, the woman that he's about to marry, he described her as a pleasing little thing. All right, so you can see he had much kinder words for his mistress than his fiance. Anyways, his fiance really did not like him having mistresses and affairs. And as soon as they were married, his new wife, kicked all the mistresses out of the palace. So then this girl went back to live in her own town. So, anyways, go through my notes here. Oh, the painting was to commemorate their relationship, which ended before the painting was finished. Sforza and the fiancee were married before the painting was finished, and the fiancee banishes Cecilia, the name of this girl. And what she is wearing is a popular Spanish style dress at that time. And she has this odd hairdo. So, what she's wearing on her head, and this painting has always confused me because it looks like her hair is being pulled down under her chin, and I would imagine like tied up under the chin, but that's part of the hair. The like there's a hat that she's wearing or a fabric that she's wearing that is pulled down, so the hair combines with that hat. And then she's wearing this like see-through fabric on her forehead, so it's almost like a hairnet, all right, with a headband around it. So the fabric ends where the gold is just above her eyebrows, and then you can see that the style of headdress you can see in the image on the right. That's what she is wearing. You can see a little bit better there. All right, so an ermine was a popular animal at that time. It's similar to a weasel or a ferret. And look at the arms on that on the painting. There's a reason why it looks like he's been working out. All right, the woman and the ermine are in a similar pose. They're looking in the similar direction and have the same color eyes. And her arm gently touches the ermine. That ermine is the Duke, right? It is a symbol of the Duke. So his nickname is an ermine. So the ermine is Sforza. She is holding her lover in her arms as this little animal. And he wants to be seen as strong. So therefore, that is why we have these weird muscles on this little creature. Also, the ermine is a symbol of purity and moderation, which I think is funny because they're having an affair. That's not purity. And that is not moderation. He has multiple mistresses and a fiance. That is not moderation. All right. Moderation is like not eating too much food, not having too many women. Right. That's moderation. But he's got too many women. And also, one of the things about an ermine is that when it's being hunted, it never hides in a messy place so as not to get its fur dirty. It's a white. So a lot of them are the white ermine that is it's a snow ermine, so it camouflages well in the snow, so it doesn't want to get its fur dirty. Otherwise, it would be seen in the snow. And then also, the ermine is used in art as a symbol of pregnancy. So it could be that she is pregnant, and it's been conjectured that the ermine is hiding her pregnant belly. So after the affair, she goes and lives a good life. So she lives until her 60s and has basically a good life. Anyways, let's see. That's my notes. The painting is bought by this English nobleman. That's the first record of the painting, and then he gives it to his mother, and she doesn't like the painting. And one of her comments is, "If it's a dog, it's a very ugly one." Now, I never really talk about like the history of a painting after it's bought, but this one I need to tell you about because the background of the painting was not painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Right? He painted the background, but this woman who hated this painting painted over it with black paint. And it was like a black house paint. It wasn't fine paint that you make. So you imagine like a paint, like the kind of paint that you use like on the inside of a garage, just to keep the cold out or something of that nature. She painted over this, and then she had the Leonardo da Vinci's name on it. But then she identifies her as Bella Ferronnier, which is a French princess. So she misidentifies this person, writes the name on it, and then paints the background of this. So there's a Leonardo da Vinci background on this that's eternally missing. Yes, right. All right. So anyway, Cecilia lived a good life, enjoying art and music. She died at age 63. Sforza, the Duke of Milan, when the French forces invade his country, he is put in a French dungeon and dies at the age of 55. So he spends a good 10 years in that dungeon. Anyways, this is one of the paintings that is stolen by the Nazis and then recovered by the Monuments Men. All right, I got a story time for you. So Christ surrounded himself with 12 apostles or 12 disciples, and he chose these disciples. How do I put this? Christ is at that time was a leader in Christianity, and it would have been made a lot of sense if he had surrounded himself with other leaders of the faith. But instead, he surrounds himself in his inner circle with common people. So 11 of these people are chosen from like almost like middle class. For example, James and John were known as the sons of thunder. Andrew was shy. Peter was bold. Matthew was a Roman tax collector. Bartholomew and Thomas were cynical of Jesus. And Philip was a fisherman. So all these men are working class from Galilee, except for one, which is Judas. And Judas he did have a position that was high in the Christian faith, and he was a part of some of the. Let's see, do I have it here? He held high position in various religious groups, and so he was a very trusted person, and he had leadership positions, and he was one that was taught to heal. He had an education, and so he was one of the most trusted people of Jesus. Anyways, Jesus and his 12 disciples. By the way, that's the wrong quote up there. Um, Jesus and his 12 disciples travel to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover. And meanwhile, Judas is becoming upset with Jesus because Jesus isn't doing things like Judas thinks he should. And he begins to conspire with other chief priests to find a way to get rid of Jesus. These chief priests feel that Jesus is getting in their way of uh, uh, power and how Christianity should be taught, etc. So they conspire together to betray Jesus. And Judas comes to the high priest and he basically says, "What will you give me to, and I will deliver Jesus to you?" And they give him 30 pieces of gold, which he has there in that bag. So later on, Jesus and his 12 disciples are having a dinner before Passover. And Jesus says to them, "One of you will betray me." And at that point, they all want to know that who. They start asking him. And Jesus says, "The one that I give bread to." And there's also, and I think another quote is, "The one that dips his hand in the bread tray with me." So it means the same thing. And then he gives the bread to Judas. So it turns out that he knows that Judas is betraying him. And he says to Judas, "Whatever you're going to do it quickly." And at that moment, Judas leaves. And then with the rest of them, Jesus says, "Take and drink. This is my blood." And he gives them wine. And he says, "Take and eat. This is my body." And he gives them bread. And so that is the first Eucharist, which is a very common ceremony in Christian ceremonies or Christian, ceremonies today. So after the dinner, Jesus and his disciples go to a nearby park. Jesus separates himself from his disciples and begins to pray. Meanwhile, Judas goes to the high priest and says, "This is our time. If we're going to get him, now's our chance." So they muster up a small army and they go and they arrest Jesus. And Judas had told them, says, "You'll know which one is Jesus because I will kiss him." So Judas betrays Jesus with a kiss. And so the guards go to arrest Jesus. Peter defends Jesus by pulling out a sword and cutting off the ear of one of those trying to arrest Jesus. Jesus heals that guy and gets arrested and later on is crucified. So that is the story of the Last Supper. So we're going to go to Milan, and in this church in Milan, inside, we're going to go and see this painting right here, The Last Supper. Now, if you look at the medium of this painting, what is it made out of? It's oil and if you look at it, it's oil and tempera. What should this be made out of? Or what is it? A painting like this on a wall, what is it usually made out of? Fresco. All right. So Leonardo da Vinci was trying a new way to paint on a wall. Now, the reason why fresco buono works so well is that the pigments go into the wall. It's chemically bonded to the wall. Fresco secco it doesn't work because the paint is on top of the wall. And the same thing happens here. And he's mixing oil and tempera together. Oil is made with oil. Tempera is made with water. You have a water agent in there. Do water and oil react well together? No, they separate. So he's mixing two things that shouldn't be mixed together. and then he's putting it on a wall that's not going into the wall. It's just on the surface of the wall. And almost immediately, this painting begins to fall off the wall. This painting has been in disrepair for the last 500 years, and it's been reconstructed and repaired for 500 years. And I suspect that, when you go and look at this, you're looking at more of the restoration than you are of the original paint. But let's take a closer look at this painting. This is the exact moment that Jesus says, "One of you will betray me," and immediately all the disciples are saying, "Who's going to betray him? Are you going to betray him? I'm not going to betray him. Who's it going to be?" Now, this is a very popular image in early Christian art. We can see it in mosaics. By the way, who's going to betray him? Judas. All right. Can you find Judas in this painting? Right. It's difficult, right? Which one is Judas? It's difficult to know. But if you look at this one, which one is Judas? Yeah, the one on the front. All right. This one right here. And then on this one, which one is Judas? It's the one on this side of the table. Which one is Judas? Yeah, the one on this side of the table, not the one on the right. And then where's Judas in this one? It's the one on this side of the table. So it's been the tradition of Last Supper paintings that you always paint Judas on this side of the table. Well, Leonardo did not go with that tradition, so now Judas is on the other side of the table. And yes, he is hard to find. If I don't point him out, there's really no way to know which one he is. There's a clue there, but it's difficult to see. All right, now, do you see 1-point perspective in this picture? Do you see linear perspective? All right, where do you see it? Yes, that's right, in the ceiling. And so the orthogonals in the ceiling, and then on the tops of these, I don't know if those are doorways or posters or something on the walls or fabrics, tapestries, but they all go down to, and they where do they point? Yeah, to Jesus's head. So everything guides your eye to the center of the painting. All right. Now, Leonardo painted this so that it looks like the ceiling continues out with the ceiling of the room. So he makes the back wall look like the room is bigger than it is. And then we also have atmospheric perspective. If you look out the windows, you can see that the hills get lighter as they go into the distance, like they do with atmospheric perspective. And then Christ creates this triangular pose right here. Triangles and the number 3 are important in Christian imagery. What is the importance of the number 3 in Christian philosophy? Right, it's the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So 3s pop up a lot in Christian art, so in triangles as well. All right, and then Judas is shaped like a triangle as well to reflect the relationship that he has between him and Jesus. And Jesus is pointing to the wine. It's a cup of wine on the left and bread on the right, and so that he's making reference to the drink. This is my body, or my blood, and eat. This is my body. So this is the Eucharist. This is the Christian ceremony commemorating the Last Supper. Are you ready to move on? Moving on. I want to point out that the disciples are divided into groups of three. So on the left, there's a group of three. In the center left, there's a group of three. In the center right, a group of three. And on the far right, a group of three. On the far left, we have Bartholomew, James, and Andrew. And then we have Judas, Peter, and John. Judas is his attribute is that he's holding the bag of money. So that would be the clue that was Judas. But how obvious is that bag of money? Is it, even by pointing it out, can you even see it? All right. So, again, this painting is in bad repair. It's hard to see a lot of the details. And Judas is also reaching for the bread pan that Jesus said, the one that I share bread with will be the one that betrays me. All right. And then we have Thomas, James, and Philip. And then we have Matthew, Thaddeus, and Simon. You've probably seen lots of parodies online of this painting. Here we have the Playmobil and Lego. We got all of the dead rock and roll stars. I'm going to get my laser. Can you identify them? Who's the one in the middle? That's right, it's Elvis. Aha. All right, Elvis, the king of rock, is in the middle. Can you identify the one on the far left? We got Bob Marley, and we have Freddie Mercury, James Brown. I think this guy without a shirt is Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. I cannot identify this one right here. But then we have Janis Joplin. I think that's John Lennon, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison. We have Jimi Hendrix. That is Grateful Dead. I'm having a brain fart. And then Frank Zappa over here on the far right. Right. Anyways, here's our COVID version of the Last Supper. And then we have a Zoom version of the Last Supper. Anyways, moving on. It's Friday. I'm going to stop here. All right. And you guys can get your phones. 7:59. You have 6 minutes to enjoy your phones, to look up memes, and to do your homework. There you go. That's what you can do.